Is it possible that you made up your own eating disorder? Hi, my name is Stephanie. I'm a therapist on Long Island, New York that specializes in the treatment of eating disorders and body image issues. If you're interested in learning more about that or just general mental health, please click the subscribe button down below. Many people who struggle with eating disorders may actually doubt the idea and the fact that they're actually struggling with the eating disorder. And then they might come to the idea that it's possible, perhaps I made up my eating disorder. I've had some people even come into my office and saying that they think they're struggling with the eating disorder, but they're not really sure. And then once I give that diagnosis, that they're still battling and they're thinking, well, maybe I'm not telling you everything. Maybe there's something that is still making me, not truly have the eating disorder. It's maybe just something I'm being dramatic about. Maybe I'm just amping up my behaviors when I'm talking to you. Here's a major question to answer when deciphering whether it's something that you made up or it's something that you're truly struggling with. This is the question. Do you think that you could just kick all the habits, kick all the behaviors out and function perfectly fine? Meaning, if you find yourself restricting your food intake a lot, do you think that you could go a week without ever restricting? What would happen if you did that? Or if you purge, do you think that you could go a week without purging, without any thoughts about it? If not, then you did not make up your eating disorder. I would even argue to say as much as it's very rare that a person actually makes up their eating disorder or dramatizes their eating disorder. Oftentimes, even though you feel that you may be amping it up, oftentimes most people minimize what they're actually doing and how it's actually impacting them, because that's what the eating disorder makes you do. And I'll talk a little bit more about that in a second. There are some periods of times or some issues that might be going on. Perhaps a person is struggling with a personality disorder, and I have seen in some ways that because of their personality disorder, their expression is through an eating disorder, which may not actually be a full-blown eating disorder in that moment. It's just the behaviors that is kind of feeding their personality disorder. And that's something that a therapist can help you work through. And there are some cases that perhaps an eating disorder is, made up or dramatized. Again, very rare, and I'm not saying everyone with a personality disorder who also is struggling with eating issues is doing this. I'm just saying that, that's one scenario that sometimes I've seen it in, but it's not always. Here's the thing. When you say that you think that maybe you're amping it up or you're dramatizing your behaviors and that you're thinking that it's possible that you don't really have an eating disorder, that is, in fact, your sneaky eating disorder trying to get in your head. Check out my video about your eating disorder self versus your healthy self. I will leave that link in the description below, but that talks all more about how your eating disorder is almost like a separate entity of your healthy self, and that's going to explain that concept way more than I'm going to touch on in this video. By acknowledging that you have an eating disorder, it makes you want to get help because you want to get better, you want to not experience these behaviors anymore. And of course, the eating disorder doesn't want you to get help because that threatens the eating disorder itself. If you're getting help, that's going to foster your healthy self, that's going to aggravate your eating disorder. So your eating disorder, almost as though it's a separate entity, it's going to do whatever it can, it's going to invalidate you, it's going to, minimize the behaviors and all of that to avoid you getting help or to avoid you getting the proper help because maybe it's causing you to be dishonest with your therapist, again, so that it's saving itself. It's protecting itself. So one reason that you may feel this way is because your eating disorder is trying to avoid you getting proper help. Another reason is almost like a form of self-harm, is that your eating disorder is attempting to invalidate you, invalidate your experiences. Again, this is like, I talked about it before, your eating disorder is almost like an abusive partner in a relationship. It's going to say, do this, and you're ugly, you're fat, you're all of those things. So it's going to tell you in this scenario, you really aren't struggling. You have to do this because you're fat. You have to start restricting your food. You have to purge that meal. So it's not that you have an eating disorder, it's something you have to do. It's invalidating and it's abusive. What I hope that you take from this is that if you feel that you're struggling, and if you are still doubting yourself by thinking that, oh, perhaps I'm just dramatizing this and it's not really real, just consider reaching out to an eating disorder therapist and just talking about it. And then let's say you went so far as to seek out and you're starting to see an eating disorder therapist, and your eating disorder is trying to tell you that, oh yeah, you amped up those, what you're saying, or you amped up the behaviors, those aren't really how severe it is, or you amped up those thoughts, you dramatize them to your therapist, so what they're saying is invalid because that's not really, you delivered something that is not really true to them. I would not let that get in your way, because as an eating disorder therapist, and a good trained eating disorder therapist could see right through that. Whether or not they say it to you, I'm able to see, for the most part, I'm not saying I'm perfect, but I'm mostly able to see when someone is dramatizing it, which is not very often, or when someone is minimizing their behaviors, or when someone is just truly hurting. You could see that. So what I'm saying when I talk to my clients, or when I'm talking to you, or when any eating disorder therapist is talking to their clients, they could see what's happening. And I'm not saying that it's foolproof, but just to have faith that they know their job enough that they're going to be able to help you. And I wouldn't use that as a crutch to say that you shouldn't be honest with them. I would encourage you to do your best to be honest with them, because that's also being honest with yourself, which is a huge part and a very important part in getting better. But just to have faith that your therapist knows what they're doing, and to not doubt yourself. I hope you found this video helpful. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. Leave a comment down below about whether or not you've ever thought to yourself, am I making up or am I dramatizing my eating disorder? Yes or no? Leave a comment. Please click my face over here to subscribe to my channel. And I wish you validation on your journey to finding your state of balance. Hope to see you in my next video.